Hello everyone, we are doing lesson tissues. We are discussing animal tissues in this part of the lesson, and we have already discussed epithelial and connective tissues. So today we are going to discuss another type of animal tissue which is called the muscular tissue. It is also called as muscle tissue. So it may be called as muscle tissue or muscular tissue. Muscle tissue is made up of muscles, and each muscle is a cylindrical fibers which are arranged in parallel direction. So that means muscle tissue, it consists of muscle, and muscle, it consists of cylindrical fibers. Cylindrical means which have got more length as compared to diameter, and these fibers, they are arranged in parallel array. That means they are arranged parallel to each other and they are forming a bundle. These fibers, they are composed of numerous fine fibers which are called as myofibrils. That means myofibrils, they make cylindrical fibers, and cylindrical fiber, they make a bundle in which they are arranged in parallel array that forms muscles. Characteristic feature of muscle is that muscle cell can contract and relax. So when muscle contracts, then its length shortens. When it relaxes, then it lengthens. So it is a kind of elastic tissue which can be contracted and relaxed. In elastic, what we see that we can elongate the elastic. So that means you must have seen elastic. So if elastic is of this length, then you can elongate it, you can stretch it, and when you release it, it comes back to its original place. But here what I am saying, that muscles, they can contract and then they can come to their original place. So it's slightly different from elasticity which you see in elastic. Elastic can be stretched and relaxed, whereas muscle, it can contract and relax to regain its original size. Because of this, the parts which may be attached to these muscles, they can move. And because muscle can cause movement in only one direction, so usually what we see that there are two pairs of muscles which are attached to the bones to cause antagonistic movement. Let us try to understand it in further details. Let us say that this is the bone which is attached to other bone. Now the muscles which are responsible for contracting and pushing this bone towards this end will not be able to push the bone in the other direction. So there will be two sets of muscles which will be causing opposite movement. Such pair of muscles, they are called as antagonistic movement. So muscle, it can cause movement in one direction, and when it relaxes, it lengthens, and the movement in the other direction is caused by the other type of muscle which is causing movement in opposite direction. Hence it is called as antagonistic. Antagonistic means which is causing opposite movement. both types of muscle and its antagonist, they help in causing movement. Muscles are of three different types. That is skeletal muscle, smooth muscle and cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscle, as it is clear from the name, that it is attached to the skeleton, that is bones. And smooth muscles, they are present in those parts of the body where movement is there, but that movement is not under the control of individual, or they are autonomous movements that will be caused by the smooth muscles. And third type is cardiac muscle, which is present in the heart. So skeletal muscle, it is attached to bones. Whereas smooth muscle, they are present in internal organs. And cardiac muscle is present in heart. Skeletal muscles, as we have discussed, that they are antagonistic pairs. For example, biceps and triceps. These two muscles which are attached to elbow or which are attached to the bones of arm, they help in causing the movement in opposite direction. Another characteristic feature is striated muscles are also called as skeletal muscle, or skeletal muscle, they are also called as striated muscles. Why they are called striated muscles? Because they have light and dark color band on it. They are arranged in such a way that they have striations on them. So they have light and dark color bands. So and because it looks like stripes, so that is why it is called as striated muscle. So this is another striated muscle. These muscles, they are surrounded by a connective tissue which binds several parallel tissues. That means that the bundle of skeletal tissue, they are surrounded from outside by a connective tissue which keeps them together. In comparison to this, internal organs, they have spindle shaped muscles. This shape, which is thick in the center and tapering at the ends, is also called as the fusiform shape. Fusiform means which is thick in the center and at both the ends it is having tapering ends. These types of muscles, they are present in the internal organ and they are also surrounded by connective tissue sheath. Such type of muscles, they are present in the internal organs. So here we could see that it is present in the attached to the bones, whereas these are present in the internal organs. For example, they are present in the inner wall of intestine, stomach. So these muscles which are present there, they help in causing the involuntary movement. That means this movement is not under the direct control of individual. You can't stop your stomach from contracting. Whereas you can control the skeletal muscles. That is why they are called as voluntary muscles. So skeletal muscle, they are voluntary, they are under your control. You can make them contract and relax. Whereas in case of smooth muscles, they are involuntary, they are not under our control. So that is why they are working at their own level. Third type of muscle, that is called as cardiac muscle. As the name suggests, it is present in the heart. Now here the muscle, it resembles smooth muscle as well as skeletal muscle in some way. Like skeletal muscle, it is having striations on it. So it looks like striated muscle. Just like striated muscle, it is having stripes on it. But just like smooth muscles, it is not under the control of individual. And another difference between skeletal muscle and cardiac muscle is that here we could see that these are unbranched. Whereas cardiac muscle is branched. This is also unbranched. Whereas cardiac muscle, they are attached to, these bundles are attached to each other by cross connections, and hence it is called as branched muscle. There are certain bands present near the junctions where these muscle bands are attached to each other, and these bands, they are called as intercalated disc. Which are a way of communicating between the cardiac muscles. So all the muscles, they can contract and relax as a unit. So what happens that in cardiac muscle, when one cell receives a signal to contract, its neighboring muscles, they also get stimulated and contract. So because of that, heart contracts and relaxes at the same time. Because all the muscles, they contract and relax in a unified way. That happens because of the intercalated disc. Such intercalated disc, they are not present in the striated muscle. So these are some of the differences and characteristic feature of all three different types of muscles. So we have understood that cardiac muscle, it is present in the heart and its main function is pumping of blood. Whereas skeletal muscles, it is present attached to the bones and it is under the voluntary control of individual or animal. So they help in locomotion. Whereas smooth muscles, they are present in the internal organs and not under the control of any individual or an animal, so they are causing movement on their own. Such kinds of movement which are not under the direct control of animal are called as involuntary movement. So that means skeletal muscle is voluntary, whereas smooth as well as cardiac, they are involuntary, because you can't stop your heart from beating as per your own wish. So cardiac muscle is also involuntary and smooth muscles are also involuntary, whereas the muscles attached to your bones, they are voluntary in nature. And there is difference in the structure also. In structure, what difference we can see? That cardiac muscles, they are branched and they have intercalated disc, whereas skeletal muscles, they are long and cylindrical and they are bound by a sheath from outside, whereas smooth muscles, their shape is entirely different from these two. They are having tapering ends. In case of cardiac muscle, they have single nucleus. In case of smooth muscles, each muscle has a single nucleus, whereas in case of skeletal muscle, there can be many nucleus present. So another difference is that skeletal muscle is multinucleated, whereas smooth and cardiac both are having one nucleus. Another difference in their structure is that they are having striations, they are smooth. That is why they are called as smooth muscle, because they don't have striations on them, whereas cardiac muscles are also striated. This is also to be remembered that cardiac muscles have an intermediate energy requirement, whereas skeletal muscle, they require large amount of energy. That means when bones move, then skeletal muscles which cause the movement, they consume a lot of energy, and smooth muscles, they have requirement of least requirement of energy. And cardiac muscle, its energy requirement is intermediate. Or in other words, I can say that skeletal muscles, they consume a lot of energy. Then next comes the cardiac muscle, and smooth muscles, they require least amount of energy for the contraction. Similarly, there is difference in the speed of contraction also. Cardiac muscles have intermediate speed, whereas skeletal muscle, they have fast contraction, and smooth muscles, they have slower contraction. The speed of contraction in the skeletal muscles is very fast. In smooth muscles, it is very slow, whereas in cardiac muscle, it is intermediate. So these two differences you need to remember, that cardiac muscle, they have intermediate speed and intermediate energy requirement, whereas smooth muscle, they require very less energy and their contraction is slow, whereas the skeletal muscles, they have They require large amount of energy and their contraction is also very fast. Another difference is in the rhythm. Cardiac muscles, they have rhythmic contraction. Whereas skeletal muscle, they will contract when you require or when you direct them to contract. So that means this type of contraction, it is as per the will. So it may not be rhythmic, may be rhythmic, may not be rhythmic. Whereas smooth muscles, they have rhythmic contraction. So this way you can see that there are certain similarities between skeletal and smooth and certain similarities between skeletal and cardiac and so on. This is also very interesting to notice that skeletal muscles, they get tired and smooth muscles and cardiac muscles, they never get tired. All through the life, they keep on contracting and this contraction relaxation never stops. So that means the muscle never gets tired. Whereas the skeletal muscles, if they are overworked, then they get tired. So that is why if you walk a lot or if you write a lot, then your hand muscles and your feet muscles, they get tired. But your heart, it is continuously beating throughout the life and it never gets tired. Similarly, the muscles which are present in your internal organs, they are also continuously working, but they don't get tired. So these are some of the similarities and differences which you need to remember so that you can understand the differences as well as similarities between these three types of muscles. So this is all for the muscular tissue. In the next class, we will study about the last and the fourth type of animal tissue, that is nervous tissue. Till then, try revising this topic because you have to remember the similarities as well as the differences, and you should know the drawing of these muscles also. So try and practice them until the next class, that will be on nervous tissue.